Movie and Music Network. Offering underground, pop, and esoteric cinema. Discover more at movieandmusicnetwork.com. Margaret Keane was an artist of unusual paintings in the 1950s. In order to find success, her husband claimed credit for her work.
Sadly, people don't buy lady art.
The painting says Keane. I'm Keane, you're Keane.
When she finally realizes she's been taken advantage of, she fights for her artistic rights in Big Eyes.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm here with Brenna and Kevin to talk about the movie Big Eyes. It's the new Tim Burton movie. We've all just seen it. Brenna, what do you think?
I was interested to see this, mostly because I am a Tim Burton fan, have always been one, and was curious to see what he would do with real-life people in a drama. And I feel like maybe Tim Burton is a little afraid to be Tim Burton right now with this movie. It felt like he was pulling his punches. It felt very early Tim Burton before he got the license to be as crazy as he wanted to be. But it wasn't as whimsy. It wasn't as much whimsy as
they tried like twice.
Little pieces with like eyes.
Yeah, they had those little
stuff.
inserts where you're like, oh, it's Tim Burton for a moment.
Yeah, and then you completely forget.
I think all three of us Wikipedia'd this afterwards. But like you're watching this film, and the story is rather unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And as a Wikipedia article, you read it, and it's this interesting, crazy story of how did someone let someone else plagiarize their work, who they were married to for 10 years. Mm-hmm. But somehow when you watch the movie, there's one conflict. There's one resolution. You see both things coming from a mile away.
It seemed like an HBO movie. It didn't seem like something I'd tell people to go to the theater to see, because it was very kind of generic. You knew where it was going from the beginning, and I thought, you're right, Tim Burton didn't do anything Tim Burton-esque. And here's the thing, they have these wonderful paintings. Mm-hmm.
That are very Tim Burton.
That are very Tim Burton. They could have animated them and been like the inner voice of Margaret.
She's going insane.
Right, but they didn't do anything with that, and I was like, where is Tim Burton in here? It's not even that colorful.
So what do you say? I say no, it's not art. It's not art. It's like the back of a magazine, you know, draw the turtle, send in a nickel, win the big contest.
How dare you? Lots of people will like this.
Well, nobody who's walking through the doors of this gallery.
If you have some guy who seems so overtly bad, how do you identify then with your protagonist? Because now she seems dumb.
Right.
Exactly. And that is
how could she not have noticed?
I was so frustrated watching
me
this
too.
movie. I was in physical pain.
Until I didn't
shake
care
her.
anymore. That was the problem, because it's just one note. I mean, obviously, yes, you're supposed to feel for this person. Yeah. So you do for a while until you're just like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, that's my main complaint, is that there is no comeuppance. We don't have a victory.
I mean, there is.
We have the ending, but I want to see this guy. I watched him for an hour and a half browbeat this woman.
Yeah.
I want to see him fall down. I don't want a tiny blurb in the epilogue.
It's the 50s. She knows that they're always going to take his word over hers. I mean, a lot of that works for a while, but then after 10 years, you're just like, well.
Tim Burton also helped to remind us.
Yeah.
He had her go talk to a priest who was like, listen to your husband.
Yes.
Right. And all this other stuff that made me, I felt for her.
I mean, the good thing is we have Amy Adams, who does a great job.
Yes.
She does make you feel for her, even though you're frustrated with her.
You want to shake her, but you still like feel for her.
She's good. I didn't like Christoph Waltz. I got really annoyed with him.
I like Christoph Waltz as an actor, and I didn't like him in this. And I like him, but I also didn't like him.
I mean, to me, it felt like it was just mismatched. If she's going to play it very naturalistic, then he needed to play it naturalistic. If he's going to play it in a bigger way that maybe is more of a Tim Burton traditional kind of whimsical way, then she needed to come up to that level. But they were at two different places.
Yeah, I wanted to see him seduce her in a way that we believed, like, As soon as he was like looking at her, I was like, ooh, he's a slime bucket.
We made $5,000, and it wasn't even for one of you good ones.
Don't you mean one of your good ones?
No. All right, one of our good ones.
So this is a Burton flick, which means that we have Danny Elfman doing the score.
Which I didn't know.
I didn't notice.
Because, it doesn't sound like, because you always know it's an Elfman score. And this one, I mean, I liked it because it didn't sound like him, but.
It fit.
Yeah.
But everybody is pulling back on this. I think Tim Burton was afraid of being too Tim Burton-y. I think he's gotten a lot of flack for that lately, and he was trying to pull back, and maybe he told Danny Elfman to do the same thing, because the score is there, and it obviously is helpful if you didn't notice it, but it's still, Tim Burton movies, you notice things.
Well, I mean, you know what? I want him to get to experiment. I don't know if it is just being worried about critics saying, oh, you do this, but I do think it's neat if you do one thing to do something else. I think that's great.
That's why I wanted to see this. I wanted to see Tim Burton try something else.
I felt like he probably connected with her plight because, he's an artist and he probably knows what she must have been feeling, and that probably is what drew him to it.
Because that's a lot of, the character says that a lot too, is talking about these are my babies, this is me, this is a part of me, and you're taking credit for it.
Especially when she tells him to what are you going to say when they ask you where you come up with this, and just watching him create the story that has nothing to do with what her story was.
I mean, I actually think he was trying to honor it too much. That sort of is my guess, because I know that Amy Adams met up with Margaret Keane and promised that she was going to honor her, and so I think maybe she was
too careful.
I think that maybe they all were too careful because they had a personal relationship and were trying to do their best to honor, and maybe didn't fictionalize as much as they could have.
Out of fear of being too Tim Burton-y, Burton held back his signature touches. But with a fantastic performance from Amy Adams and just a touch of whimsy, you might as well check it out. Stream it.
It's an interesting story, but we kind of already know the outcome before we walk in the theater. So I did expect a little bit more from Tim Burton than kind of a cable movie. So I'm going to say stream it.
I can't remember ever faulting a Burton film for feeling too uninteresting or simplistic. But this movie isn't very compelling. Stream it.
Cheers.
Big eyes.
Do you want me to do that again?